Hello everyone, this is Sincere, a Teacher Sincere's channel, and welcome. So before I get started with this video, I first of all want to thank and welcome my new subscribers. I see I've garnered a few, particularly since my videos on the Netflix Cleopatra and also about the kings of Nubia. So I was really surprised at the numbers of viewers that I've gotten. I did wish that, the people that view my videos would engage more, but I guess if they have to troll, it's best just to keep quiet. But anyway, yeah, because they're controversial topics. But yeah, it was rather fun to make those videos, and so I just want to welcome you. Thanks for subscribing to my channel. I hope you enjoy the material that I will be presenting here. I want to tell you very quickly a little bit about myself. As I said, my name is Sincere. I live in the United States. I'm in the southeastern part of the country, and what my job is, I am an online EFL teacher. EFL stands for English as a Foreign Language teacher, so I teach non-native speakers of English. The majority of my regular students are in Brazil, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and also others in Japan, or originate in Japan. So, so that's mainly what I do. I do other things, of course, but my profession, I am by profession an English teacher. I started out, teaching American children here in the United States, social studies and English. And then sometime later, I decided to go over to teaching non-native speakers, and I teach mainly adults, though I do, from time to time, teach, older teenagers. But yeah, so what I want to do in this video, I want to talk a little bit about, share a little bit about what I've been reading lately. This is for May, and I have to say that I'm a slow reader. I will, when I have enough free time, I will pick up momentum, but a lot of times I don't have a lot of time to read. I try to squeeze in a little bit of time, and I don't waste time watching television or anything like that, but I have a lot of other things that I have to do, and also just, you know, lack of energy sometimes, because when I read, I want to be fully focused. I don't want to be just tired. I don't really read to put myself to sleep. I read to learn and enjoy the material that I have in my hand before me. So, but yeah, so I'm going to start talking a little bit about, like I said, what I've been reading lately. Okay. And one of the first things that I've been reading, is a nonfiction book. It was written back in the 1840s. It's called, and I'm looking at my computer because it has kind of a long name and I sort of forget what it is, but it's called Ancient Monasteries of the East, or the Monasteries of the Levant. It was written by Robert Curzon, who was a British author, diplomat. Basically that's what he was. And I'm looking over here on my, because I have my laptop next to me. But yeah, he was a traveler, a diplomat, and an author. Okay, he was also a British aristocrat. He was the 14th Baron Zoch. So, this book is really interesting. I'm surprised at how entertaining and good it is. I was thinking that he probably might be looking down on the locals and everything, but he doesn't. He really enjoys his time traveling in these countries. Right now where I am in the book, they've arrived in Jerusalem. And the last time I was reading the book, they actually got ambushed by some renegade Arabs. And so he had earlier been in Egypt, and what he does is he actually would go around and he was hunting for ancient manuscripts. So he was able to collect some manuscripts in Egypt from some Coptic monks. And so, yeah, and so he was one of those early people that discovered that, hey, these people in these Eastern lands have some great antiquities, so we're going to take them on back to Europe. Now, he didn't steal them. He said he actually paid for them. Some of in the book, some of the monks would actually give him these old manuscripts for free, because at that time back then, a lot of people just really did not, I think, understand the value of these old antiquities and antiques and things that they had in their culture. And then so, oh, it's just some old stuff. Well, let them have it, you know. So that's basically what his job, what he did, the kind of thing he did. And so his writing is very lively. It's very descriptive, very interesting, and he talks deeply about the culture and some of the history of these regions. So he is obviously a very learned man. He's not just somebody, you know, just out there, but he's a learned person. You can tell by his his style of writing. Now, Robert Curzon's book on the monasteries, I actually got a free copy off of Kindle. So it was in those old classic books that you usually see on Kindle. They usually have the little brown cover, and where the writing is, it's like white or beige. And so I actually got it for free. Another book that I'm reading is actually by the Egyptian Nobel Prize winning writer Naguib Mahfouz, and it's a collection of 3 separate novels, and it's called it's just 3 separate novels. Here it is right here. Okay, and the 3 novels in this collection is Midaq Alley, The Thief and the Dogs, and Miramar. And I've already read The Thief and the Dogs a few years ago. I really enjoyed it. I really like Naguib Mahfouz's writing. The one that I'm reading now, I'm going back and reading the first and then the third one. I'm right now reading Midaq Alley. And so his writing, he really gets into his characters, the dialogue, the atmosphere of the place, the dialogue. Some of his work is rather cinematic. I know his ancient Egyptian trilogy is really, really good. It's like on a cinematic scale. It's really, really good. And so so far I'm enjoying Midaq Alley. It's about these different people that live in this section of Cairo. They're of different ages. Most of them are like older, like men that are like probably middle-aged and older. And also there are women included in the story. So I really enjoy, the area actually is like a sort of working class area, and there might be like 1 or 2 of them that are sort of slightly well off. And so you see the interaction of the different groups and the men hanging out at the cafes, coffee shops, and just the general conversation. So far I rather like Midaq Alley. I'm waiting to see what it's going to turn out, what's going to happen, particularly with a young couple, the 2 youngest characters that are planning to get married. And then I will read Miramar. Thief of the Dogs was really good. It was about an ex-con who's just sort of fresh out of jail, like Tupac Shakur would say, and he comes back to the neighborhood and people kind of look up to him, and like he's sort of, a rebel against the system, and and sort of, the book covers a lot of his psychological state, and he's trying to stay out of trouble, but he sort of ends up getting into trouble. And but Naguib Mahfouz is one of my favorite writers. He was Egyptian, and like I said, he was a Nobel Prize winner. The next book that I'm reading is actually a book of Christian philosophy, a big classic, okay, written in the 5th century, called The City of God, and it's by St. Augustine of Hippo. St. Augustine lived in a neighboring country. I just talked about Naguib Mahfouz. He lived actually in what is now Algeria. St. Augustine did. And so this book called The City of God, basically what it is about, it is Christian philosophy. And St. Augustine starts out, his premise is to refute the criticism of the pagans, okay? The pagans are actually criticizing the Christian God and saying that he has no power, he's worthless, because they are saying, if your God has any kind of power, why didn't he save the Christians in Rome during the sack of Rome by King Alaric? So the whole book is basically St. Augustine trying to build his argument against the pagans, and it has a lot of very interesting, obscure history about the Roman Empire in it. And I think, I haven't finished the book yet, but I think that he has actually already defeated the ones that are criticizing the faith. So it's a very interesting book. A few years ago, I read his book, The Confessions, that was about his life, his journey from being a pagan and a philosopher to turning to Christ. So yeah, I really enjoy. In fact, I like The City of God actually better than Confessions. Now, it's not a necessarily easy read. It's a type of book that you really want to sort of meditate on. I'm reading it on, reading a Kindle edition of it, which is, it's in like a collection of his writings. And, so what I do sometimes, I just sort of I actually highlight some of the passages in there and make little tiny comments. And so, yeah, I really enjoy reading this book. I was never really sort of big on philosophy. I took philosophy briefly in university, and then I dropped out of the course because I just couldn't stand Plato's Republic. That's another one I need to go back and read again and see what my impressions would be at the age I am now. But I really enjoy The City of God. It's really good. Just really great. St. Augustine himself, like I said, he was born in what is now Algeria. He lived in the Roman province of Numidia. It was called Numidia, and he was actually what people call sort of, I don't know if exactly derogatory, but Berber, it might be, but he was Amazigh. Okay, the native inhabitants of North Africa. Okay, so but I really enjoy The City of God. I highly recommend it. All right, and like I said, I'm looking over at my computer. The next book that I'm reading is a collection of short stories called A Useless Man, and it's by Turkish writer Sait Faik Abasıyanık. Sait Faik Abasıyanık was a famous Turkish short story writer. He tended to write about more of the working class people in Turkey. Some of his works are actually autobiographical, and I'm really enjoying many of the short stories in the collection. Some of them have the language is absolutely beautiful, even though it's a translation. Some of the stories in there are there's a beautiful sort of mystical, sort of romantic feel to some of them, and then others are sort of more raw street-like characters. And so I really enjoyed the book. I hadn't read any Turkish authors in the last maybe in the last year or two. So I always want to try to get in at least one Turkish author a year. So I do highly recommend A Useless Man by Sait Faik Abasıyanık. Now, from my previous video, if you've seen my previous video, I was talking about this big heavy book. Okay, this big heavy coffee table book called Nubian Pharaohs, Black Kings on the Nile. The Nubian Pharaohs, Black Kings on the Nile. And if you, I'll just sort of rehash what I said in the previous video, where I did sort of a flip through of some of the photos in this book. I really got really interested, even before really before the controversy about the Netflix Cleopatra. And so, maybe about 2 months ago, I bought an ebook about the Kingdom of Kush. Okay, the Kingdom of Kush, the people that are called Nubians, their ancestors were a part of the Kingdom of Kush, and so I haven't started reading this book yet, but I plan to read it. If you are interested in learning more about what we would call the Black pharaohs, though they did not use that type of terminology. And even today in Arab culture, they don't call anyone black. Okay, I was talking to a Saudi gentleman several weeks ago that called, because like I said, I teach online, so I have people from Saudi Arabia calling, and I asked him about that, and he said, well, we don't use that terminology. We don't use black. That word is not in our language. And I had posted on Twitter talking about the great Arab poet, pre-Islamic poet, Antara Ibn Shaddad. And I did a video about him a few months ago. And someone Arabic tweeted back to me, well, he's just Arab. We don't really just say Afro-Arab. He's Arab. And I've gotten the same thing from, well, I've seen the same thing, not necessarily me, but people have actually talked about the Afro-Turks, the people in Turkey that are of African descent. Some Turkish people will say that just they're Turkish people. We don't use things like Afro-Turks. And I will tell you also from my own personal experience, another experience, actually, when I was teaching in Turkey a number of years ago, one of my Turkish colleagues that was on the staff, he invited me to come over to his family's house for this was during Bayram, I think, one of the Bayrams. I think it was after Ramadan, and or it might have been the other Eid where they do the sacrifice. But I can't remember which one. I think it wasn't for after Ramadan, but the Turks say Bayram and then the Arabs say Eid. But he invited me over to his family's house, cause it was a holiday. So I met up with him, and he was saying that you're one of us. And I said, oh, I'm the black Turk, huh? He said, here in Turkey, there is no black or white. There's only Turk. That's what he said. So yeah, so as I said in the previous video that I did about this big book, is that there are cultures where this is, they just don't do this. This is unknown. Okay, this is there are cultures where this is just not done. Okay, but it's really an interesting topic. I would like to maybe eventually in a future video sort of delve into this, because this is something I think that unless you've traveled abroad and you've gone to other countries, maybe sort of non-Western countries, you won't, you may not be aware of this. But yeah, this is the actual fact. I'm not making this up. Yeah. But yeah, I haven't started this book yet, but, and it's not very thick, but it's heavy. It's heavy. This is a hefty volume, but I plan to start reading this because this is a library book and I can only keep it for so long. So I will probably get on it this week. I need to start this week so that I can make sure that I can finish it up, because it's not from the library in my town. It's from a library in another part of the state. Okay. Oh, and I should have mentioned that the authors of the the Nubian pharaohs is Charles Bonnet and Dominique Valbel. Okay, I think they're Swiss. Now, the last book in the group, I believe, it's a Christian book. I'm reading it, along with my mom. It's called Praying God's Word, Breaking Free from Spiritual Strongholds. It's by Beth Moore. And, I have it. I didn't bring it with me over here, but I actually have it, have the hard copy of it, the actual copy of the book. It's a really good book. It's basically, she talks about different aspects of sin, and problems that we have. She'll do like a short essay, and then she lists a lot of scripture. And then at the end of the chapter, it will be where you can write out your own prayer. You can use like, some of the scripture and make your own prayer. So it's like a good book. It's sort of almost like a journal in a way for prayer. I really enjoy reading the scriptures in it. It's a really good book. I enjoy reading it. But, so yeah, that's all. I think I covered everything. I'm checking on I'm looking at I have my laptop next to me. When you get my age, sometimes you have to really get your notes down, because you might, sometimes, when you're a woman my age, you might get to be a little bit forgetful and not remember everything. My memory's pretty good though, but I'm just double checking to make sure I didn't forget anything. But yeah, I just wanted to do this video to let you know a little bit about what I've been reading. And maybe next month, if I've taken on something different, I will talk about it. I've been doing I'm on Goodreads.com, and I've been doing the Goodreads challenge. I'm one book ahead. So far this year, I've read 10 books. I would show you the screen, but I don't want to go over long in this video, because I'm trying to get my videos back down to a reasonable size. But yeah, I've read 10 books so far this year, and I plan to I've talked about one already, and I plan to talk about 2 more. Make several videos on 2 more, but yes, so the Goodreads challenge is coming along good, a little slow, because I was 3 books ahead of schedule, and I sort of lost my momentum. But I think hopefully this year, I've only set a goal of 25 books, which is low for me. The last 2 years, I haven't gotten in as much reading and been able to do the challenge like I've done in past years, where I was reading 45, 50, 60 books a year. But hopefully this year I can sort of try to get back up to speed and do like I used to do back previous to 2 years ago. But I'm going to end here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something new. So this is Sincere. Until next time.